Welcome to Sensible Health Solutions, the show where we simplify health and wellness. Join your hosts, Hallie Fields and Dr. Scott Luper, as they share practical tips and expert insight to help you navigate common ailments, nutrition, and overall well-being. Tune in for straightforward advice that empowers you to live a healthier life.
Hello, Dr. Luper.
Hello, Haley.
Good to see you.
Likewise.
We have been doing a radio show together for about a year and a half now, and after popular demand and request, we're converting it over to podcast land.
Yeah, and video land. We're going to actually do this on YouTube as well. That's
I know, we're being vulnerable. We're actually showing our faces and, telling more of the world who we are and what we're about. And so I thought that it would be useful if we had kind of an introduction video to let everybody know who we are.
Good. That's a great idea. So what do you want to know?
Well, first and foremost, you're a naturopath practicing here in Fairbanks, Alaska, kind of the end of the road for anybody in the world. How did you wind up here?
Well, I was teaching in Arizona. I was the chairman of diagnostics at Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine. That's the guy who's in charge of teaching the students how to be doctors. That's second year. I was in charge of second year. And I taught the students how to take a case, how to do a differential diagnosis, how to run lab tests, how to do physical exam. Either me or the members of my faculty did this. At the same time, I was also chief medical officer of the teaching clinic, which was nice. They dovetailed nicely because whatever I taught the students, I also received in the clinic. So I knew very well whether I was doing a good job or not. But what happened with that is I found myself running meetings all the time, of course, because I had this big team and I was doing team stuff all the time, right? And so as I rose in responsibility, the number of meetings that I had to run also increased. And at a certain point, I got unhappy. I mean, I was basically dying this death by meeting.
Yeah.
And somebody's got to run meetings, and I'm glad people run meetings, and I all more power to those people, except for deep inside, I am not one of those people. What I really like more than anything is sitting across from people and solving health problems. Now, the problem here, the reason why we do the radio show is because we have a busy practice. We see lots of people, and I love it. It's a fabulous way to make a living. I really, really, really like fixing things, and I like meeting people and getting to know them, and it makes a real impact on people's lives. Except the number of people get to actually see us here in our clinic here in Fairbanks, Alaska, is tiny.
Yeah, we don't have that, wide of a reach.
The lucky few, right?
The community greatly benefits it, but the world
hardly anybody's getting any benefit from this thing. And I've been doing this a long time, 30 years being a doctor, solving problems. And we figured some stuff out.
Yeah.
And so what I want to do, what I've been doing for 14 years now, is telling everybody about what we do. Except for the thing we've been doing is running a radio show in Fairbanks, Alaska.
Right, and only has local reach. I mean, some are out in Healy and some are out in Tok, and it gets to the barren parts around, but...
Yeah, not outside of Alaska. Now, people could get online and they could look up the old shows and that kind of thing,
right.
But it doesn't get any traction. So the good news is you and Tatiana had got together, both of you being, all of us work here at the clinic, and said, Dr. Luper, we need to do this thing, right?
Yeah.
We need to get this show out into the world. So good, let's do it.
And the world
Hopefully people get something out of it. And that's my intention. The intention of doing this more than anything is to literally make it easier for people to be healthy, for people to recognize the patterns of why they get sick. And we've done a couple shows already. We did one on sleep. We did one on hypertension. And it's interesting how things work, how things break, and what you can do to fix it. And a lot of times, it doesn't have anything to do with whatever drug that is normally used to treat this thing. In fact, the drugs a lot of times will get in the way. If you can get into what's really going on and fix it at depth, you feel better, you function better, you don't have to take any medications. So,
and you don't have to take or fix the problems that the medications are creating.
Yeah, there's that too.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
medication always has its, place and purpose, but if there is a way to go deeper and treat from the root cause and then work up in the system, I think that's the best. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, and I don't want to rag on other doctors. I mean, some doctors, they're doctors who are my best friends, right? There's really good people in the world doing fabulous work, zillions of them. But there's a lot of doctors that are phoning it in, and they're not taking care of their patients very well. People come in with a problem, they give them a drug, and they call it good. Next, right? And it's a 5-minute operation. No. It's a bad way to do it. You want to find a doctor that's willing to dig in, to ask questions, to rework your problem. Admittedly, not everybody wants to work their problem. Some people just say, give me the drug and I'm good. But those people are going to suffer for it. And unfortunately, anyways, I want to get too philosophical about it. Bottom line I want to say is I really wanted to keep the show super practical. It's
sensible
easy.
health solutions.
Yeah, sensible health solutions. It's easy for me to get into some kind of theory about whatever, forget it. If I start doing that, you got to shut me down.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Bring it back down to earth, Dr. Luper.
Right.
I appreciate that. You have my permission.
Okay. So what else are some of your key principles that you use in assessing a case and treating a patient?
Well, the most important thing is to get to know people. And so one of the things I do is I ask lots of questions. My intake takes about an hour. And so I ask, and I'm almost never get done in that hour, but it's about as much grilling as a patient can take. So I ask lots and lots of questions. I run lots of lab tests. At the end of the hour, I don't necessarily know everything about a patient that I need to know, but I'll have a good enough sense to know what kind of tests to run so that I can get to the bottom of whatever the problem is. So the key thing I'm thinking about here is collecting information, and if I get enough information in front of me, then it's a matter of pattern recognition, and usually the pattern just pops up. You do this long enough, you keep seeing the same things over and over again. And one of the patterns that I see a lot is that the symptoms that people come in for, high blood pressure or achiness or
fatigue,
diarrhea or heartburn or whatever, stuff like this, a lot of those symptoms are really symptoms of the body trying to get better. So what you're experiencing is not necessarily the problem, you're experiencing the solution. We talked about high blood pressure on a previous show, and so let me give you that as an example. So most of the people coming with high blood pressure think high blood pressure is the problem. It's not. Occasionally it is, but mostly it isn't. What the high blood pressure is a solution to the problem. And the real problem is you need more blood flow. Your body is short of blood. It needs more blood flowing. So how does it fix that problem? Well, it's got a built-in mechanism. What it does is it increases your blood pressure. Now more blood's flowing through the pipes. And this is a solution to your problem. You take a medication to shut that high blood pressure down, and now you're running low and slow. You feel dopey. You can't get anything done. Your mind doesn't work right. You get all these side effects of the medication. Well, they're not really side effects of the medication. They're side effects of the fact that the problem has not been solved. The problem has been worked around, where the so-called problem is treated, the high blood pressure is, but the real problem, in fact, you need more blood, has been ignored. So that shows up a lot. Symptoms often are expressions of the body's attempt to heal. So we want to help the healing, not push the symptom away. Let me give you one more example. It's a real common one, and most everybody's had this, which is you get a cold, and then you get increased mucus.
Yeah.
You get a runny nose and a drippy throat, and you get lots of mucus. Now, why is all that mucus there? We just solve the problem and take a decongestant, dry all that mucus up. You can, except for the body was trying to get better by, floating the dead cells and the viruses and the bacteria, whatever else, floating it up in the mucus
and
then
draining it out.
Then shipping it out. Right.
Yeah.
Better out than in.
Right.
And what you're doing is you're drying up the conveyor belt.
The canal.
And it won't work. And
Yeah.
you can't get the stuff out. Now, your body's clever enough to figure a workaround, and people tend not to die of the common cold. They survive. But it doesn't help really get your body do the job better. A better way to do this would be to thin the mucus out so that it flows better. So you can drink water, or chicken soup's a classic way to do it, right? You can drink tea, particularly if you want to drink ginger tea, which is naturally warming. At times, kinds of get mucus running a little bit better because it's slightly irritating because it's a little spicy. And then suddenly your mucus is flowing better. And what you'll find is you sleep better, you feel better, and you get through your cold quicker, better, faster. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're kind of talking about a positive feedback loop.
Yeah, exactly. You're respecting, you're noticing and respecting the body's attempts to do this, and not just trampling it and kicking it to the corner and saying, look, I'm in charge now. We're on a decongestant, right? And we're going to take 2 aspirins every 4 hours, right? And we're going to solve this problem. No!
No, definitely not. So, in considering that, do you have any key pillars of health that you consider somebody would have?
I do. Like, as a naturopathic doctor, I'm trained, I went through school to learn how to do this, is to train to look for the causes. And so my principle I have is find the cause, find the deepest cause I can. And there's causes of causes of causes, right? And eventually drive you crazy, but
anything can cause anything. You always say that.
Yeah, so we want to get the deepest cause we can. So find the cause. Ask lots of questions, run lots of tests, get to the bottom of things as best you can. Also, here's another one. If we can support the body in doing what it normally does, chances of getting better goes way, way up.
Yes.
So if we can understand whatever the mechanism that's going on with the breakdown and then compensate for it and let it play out, you get profound healing. We're not just loading up drugs to shut down the symptoms. What we're doing is really trying to come up with an actual solution to the problem. I can give you a zillion examples of these if you want.
Maybe one, not a zillion.
Yeah, it's hard for me to just pick one. Let me pick a tricky one. Let me say cancer. Let's talk about cancer. Now, cancer's not one thing. It's like headaches. You say headaches. Headaches are not one thing.
Yeah.
There's people get migraines, and people get tension headaches, and people get ice cream headaches, right? There's tumors in your brain. There's all kinds of reasons for headaches. Cancer's the same way. Lots of reasons for people to get cancer. But there's some common elements. Most cancers have a defective carbohydrate metabolism. They can't burn sugars correctly. They can't do aerobic metabolism. What they do is an anaerobic metabolism. I'm sorry, give me a little technical here. Let me keep it simple. Cancer likes sugar.
Yes.
We want to increase the chances you're going to survive this cancer. Then what we need to do is we need to block the sugar metabolism so that the cancer is weakened by how you live. It literally weakens your cancer. The more sugar you have in your system, the more chances the cancer is going to do well. The less sugar you have in your system, the more the cancer is going to be weak. Now, that's not enough to cure you of cancer, mostly. Occasionally it is. But mostly what you got to do is once the cancer is weak, you got to kick it while it's down. You got to whack it. There's got to be some sort of chemo or radiation or some kind of oxidative treatment or something that whacks it. So the chances of you surviving cancer will go up if you can eat a diet that starves the cancer. Yeah, duh. I mean, it's not like we didn't know this for 100 years. We've known this, and yet hardly anybody does anything with it. Good news, it's starting to get traction. More and more people are talking about this, and we've had fabulous success here in the clinic of helping people going through chemo and having them come out on the right side.
And keeping their body healthy enough to be able to sustain that treatment.
Yeah, the other thing is if you get sick enough, then you have to stop.
Yeah.
You can't do chemo anymore. They stop the chemo. Then the chance of the chemo working goes down quite a bit if you quit. So if we can keep you going all the way through it and keep you healthy and like that. So the principle here is we really want to understand the mechanism of the problem and come up with an appropriate solution to it that fits with normal physiology. And there we go. People get better. It's not that hard, really.
No.
It's pretty simple.
And since I've been working with you, I've heard a few things, multiple times over again. And that is all correlating to diet, sleep, exercise, and purpose.
Oh, yeah. So like the basic foundations of health.
Yes.
Right. You've heard me say this before. There's lumpers and there's splitters. Lumpers want to lump everything together. Splitters want to divide it out in little bits. I'm a lumper.
Yep.
Because I'm looking for patterns. And if there are too many details, the pattern doesn't pop up. So here's the pattern. The question is, how do you create health? The answer is, you got to focus on 4 main areas. Area number 1 is nutrients. Mm-hmm. You cannot be healthy unless you have nutrients.
Adequate nutrients.
Yeah, because we need nutrients. We burn them for fuel. They build our body up. They're the stuff our body needs. Except for we don't call them nutrients. We call them food.
Yeah.
Sometimes
you can get them in pills too.
Yeah,
sometimes
but
they supplement.
Food is absolutely the best place to get these things from. I'm a big fan of food. I like food. Food's fun.
Food's great.
So you need food. Okay, next one is, what we need is to be able to move these nutrients around, to supply these nutrients to the different cells of the body through the bloodstream. Mm-hmm. So the next foundation of health is getting the blood moving, mm-hmm. and that's through
exercise.
Bingo, that's it. Exercise. Exercise is how it's done. You exercise and you get your blood flowing better, and the whole system runs better.
The hormones flowing, the neurotransmitters flowing.
The whole thing, kick and boodle. The whole system runs better when you exercise. The thing it's funny about human beings as a species is we require more exercise than most animals. There are many animals that can lay around and sleep all day, and they're perfectly fine.
That's so curious to me, because you think about those animals in the animal kingdom and what they require to stay alive, and you'd think that they would require constant energy exertion to like hunt and gather and sustain themselves.
Have you ever seen a crocodile? Like in real life?
I wasn't thinking about a crocodile specifically.
They lay around all the time.
I was thinking of a tiger. I was thinking of a lion. I'm thinking of cats.
Let's talk tigers. Huh?
Okay.
Yeah. How much you think tigers are running around all the time? They're laying around, sleeping much of the time. I have a cat. And my cat, for me to see my cat, I got a probably three-quarter chance. That is 3 out of 4 times I see my cat, it's asleep.
Yeah, that's true.
And it doesn't suffer. Yeah. It does fine. Not human beings. Human beings are the exception. We need the exercise. We have evolved bodies that allow us to do more and accomplish more as a species. So it's like our superpower. But what we have to do is we have to keep it running. When we don't exercise, we fall apart, we ache, we hurt, we get tired, we get dopey and dumb, and that doesn't work. So we literally need to move our bodies to be the appropriate expression of our true selves. So, turns out exercise, aside from moving blood, which is the main reason, is there in and of itself because we're human beings. So, we need nutrients, number 1. We need exercise, number 2. Number 3, we need to repair. We need to take the old car and park it in the garage occasionally.
Yeah. And we did
and let the mechanics tinker on it.
We did that episode on sleep.
Yeah.
And, it's just still so irritating to me that we have to sleep.
What a waste of time.
What a waste.
Do we just drive the car forever and never have to fix it?
Yeah.
No. You got to have regular maintenance.
What about these new cars? What about these Teslas coming out?
Every day you got to park yourself in your garage, which turns out to be your bed with the covers up. And your body does this repair thing.
It's healing thing.
All animals do this. Admittedly, it's a little dodgy for bugs. We're not sure exactly what's going on in those little bug brains. But everything else we know for sure is actually sleeping. They enter this quiescent state known as sleeping. And lots of animals sleep way more than we do. A few sleep less than we do. A few animals have learned the trick of only sleeping one half their brain at a time, so they're still alert. That's tricky.
Have you found any patient that does that?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I've had no patients. Of all the patients I know.
Is there any record of it?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a whole lot more to be said about sleep. We're going to say that for sleep show number 2.
Sleep part 2.
The sleep paralysis thing
Yes.
and sleepwalking. We never talk about any of those things. We'll come back to that,
Okay,
right?
wonderful.
So it's a fun subject. A lot of interesting things to fix in that world.
Yes.
Now the 4th one is a linchpin. Each one of them are necessary, but the 4th one is super, super important, and that is, it drives the rest of them, and that is purpose.
Absolutely.
Because acquiring nutrients, being able to set up a safe place to sleep, doing the exercise to be able to keep your blood flowing, all of these things require energy. Energy focus, where your body has to work at it. So why? What the heck are we doing all this for? You got to have a reason to bring your A game to your life, And that's where the purpose comes in. So I talked to a patient today, and I was talking about him. He's coming from the edge of dying. He's doing a lot better. And I said, okay, what's your purpose? And he laughed. He says, well, I got a really great motorcycle. I want to work on it.
There you go. That's enough.
Bam, that's all you need.
That's all you need. I can think back to my bodybuilding days, and my purpose was to be on that stage, show ready, and placing first. And after that purpose was initiated, then everything else followed. Now, given bodybuilding is all structured about exercise and eating and sleeping and health, but now in my regular life, I've taken the principles from that show and applied it to being a normal human being.
Yeah, normal? I don't think so. Because here you are doing the show right now.
Yeah,
normal human beings do this?
Normal-ish, normal kind of,
All
normal
you're hanging with me, that is
adjacent.
absolutely not normal.
But yeah,
right.
all of those 4 are pillars.
So purpose is key.
Yes.
Okay, so do I have time to give you some other principles?
We've got 10 minutes.
Oh, plenty of time.
Yeah.
Let me do some other principles that are super important that we're going to keep coming back to in nearly every show.
Yeah.
One of these principles is homeostasis.
Mm-hmm.
So homeostasis is the system our body uses to keep things in the middle. If you get too high, too hot, too cold, too whatever, it brings it back to normal. So it's how hormones are regulated a lot of times. It's how our cell environment's regulated. There's a zillion examples of this. Now, we could use this in medicine in a weird way, because if we push our bodies in a certain direction, our bodies fight back and bring it back down. And we can literally get things to move in the right direction by pushing them in the opposite direction that common sense would tell you. I've done this a zillion times in a zillion ways. Let me give you a few examples. We did a show on hypertension recently, we mentioned that, and this is one of the ways you can get your blood pressure to come down. One of the best ways to get your blood pressure to come down is to push it up. Mm-hmm. Okay, here it is. Here's your blood pressure. It's running too high. You want to push it down, but now your body's fighting to bring it up because homeostasis wants to put it back where it was. You let off the whatever you're doing, the medication, boop, it comes up higher. Mm-hmm. But instead, if you take that same blood pressure and you push it up with exercise, and then let go, pew, comes back down, and it overcompensates, and now you get a lower blood pressure.
It overcompensates for that
So
already
you were too
high
high,
blood
you
pressure.
push it up higher, and it pops down. It doesn't go back to where the old high was.
Yes.
It goes to the normal
The
lowish
regular
one,
range.
the regular range.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Very.
We can do that a zillion times, a zillion things. Let me give you another example. If somebody is cold, literally, you put a thermometer in their mouth and they're running a degree cold, and you think, who cares? It's only a degree. No, it makes a big difference. Mm-hmm. You're running slow. Your body doesn't heal as well. Your brain doesn't think as well.
Yeah.
It is a noticeable change being 1 degree low. 2 degrees low, it's like it'll blow your mind. You don't know what life on the planet Earth really is like if you're running 2 degrees low. A degree low is common too. We see it a lot. So if we can get people's temperature to go up, then they feel better. They function better. So that's an easy one to solve. All we do is give them in a hot tub. We soak them up till their temperature comes up, hop out, and they're good to go. Nope. You heat them up. Then you get them out of the hot, and their temperature comes back down. They come out lower.
Right.
Lower. They come out colder. The best way to get people to warm up is actually to chill them, and then their temperature comes up.
To make their body work for that homeostasis.
Yeah, your body has to fight for homeostasis. And you know what? Funny thing is I bet a lot of our listeners already know this.
Yeah, they've probably done hydrotherapy with us.
Or it's the people like in the Southlands. They're doing that. Ice plunge thing.
Oh yeah, ice
there
plunge, polar plunge, very popular.
That's right. And you go into the cold and you come out warm. Now, admittedly, if you stay in the ice water for long enough, eventually you go into hypothermia and you die. There's a limit.
Yeah.
You can't overcompensate the system to where it cannot compensate anymore, because then you just broke it. But
so is that the same if you're in sauna and then you go out into regular Fairbanks winter temperatures of like 20 below and you stand outside?
Same thing. Here in Alaska, this is easy. All you have to do is go stand in the shower, turn it on cold, and you get ice cold water coming out of the faucet.
All you need to do is go start your car in the morning.
It doesn't take much around here.
No.
That's why Alaskans tend to be healthier. I'm sorry, we can only get this thing about how Alaska's great. It is. We live here. You know, it sucks to be everybody else. There's that. But so what the thing is, we want, in order to heat people up, we want to cool them down. Is what we want to do.
Yes.
Okay. And I had another side. Oh, it'll come back to me here. Anyways, good. Now that's the point. So the homeostasis. We talk about homeostasis. Now let's talk about another thing, which is called hormesis. Now, hormesis is another tool that we can use to get people healthy. And hormesis is the concept that if you do a little of something, it creates an effect, and you do a lot of that, and you get the opposite effect. Now, this sounds kind of weird. Like, really? If you do a little, you get a little effect. You do a lot, you get more of that effect. No, you get the opposite. And this happens time and time again with medications and treatments. In fact, it's more the rule than it is the exception. Most everything you do fits in this category. Let me give you an example. Back in the 90s, they invented a drug called Prozac. They actually might have invented it in the 80s, but it really became popular in the 90s. And so what happened was they would give this thing, the Prozac medication, to people who are depressed. And what the Prozac does, and there's a whole class of drugs that do this, but what the Prozac does is it blocks the reuptake of serotonin and traps serotonin between the neurons where it's needed, and so you feel better. Your mood comes up. And so this was great. It was like fabulous. It was like, you know, a godsend to lots and lots of people who were depressed and didn't know what to do. So then they started, you know, using it commonly, and weirdly enough, teenagers started committing suicide who were going on this medication. Not all the teenagers. It was a relatively low percentage, but not low enough that people didn't notice.
Yeah.
So lots and lots of reported kids were teenagers were committing suicide. What the heck is going on there? And at that point in time, no one knew. I mean, for years. I was in med school at that point, and it was just a mystery. Well, now we know exactly what was happening. What was happening is a hormetic dose response. So this is your mood, right? And if you as your medication as your medication increases, your mood goes up. So this is no drug, right? Now you get a little bit of drug and your mood goes up, and more drug and your mood goes up, and more drug and your mood drops like a rock. It forms a curved band. You can plot it.
So too much of a good thing.
Yeah, too much, you get the opposite. The system breaks down is what it does.
That's why they say moderation is key.
One of the reasons. So one of the things that they discovered is that the reason why these kids were committing suicide is because the dose was too high.
Yeah.
They were teenagers. A lot of them were too small.
Yeah.
The dose was incorrect.
That's sad.
So we know this. If you do serotonin reuptake inhibitors and you do a little bit, you get a decent reaction out of it. You do a little bit more, it works a little bit better. You do a little bit more, and now your mood is plummeted.
Right.
And it's called serotonin syndrome. You get too much serotonin, and you get this syndrome of all these symptoms of the system breaking down.
So in contrast, I would maybe have the example of something that's horrible for you, like smoking cigarettes. Is there an amount that might be possible benefit?
That's an interesting question.
That was the
Because cigarettes
one
are poison.
example that
They're an exact poison. I mean, come on, you smoke cigarettes, the chances of you getting cancer and dying and lung disease and all kinds of horrible diseases is absolutely increased. Except you're perfectly right.
I would think so.
It turns out that if you get a little teeny bit of poison, what happens is your body fights against it. It cleans up the poison and everything else that's in the nearby.
Okay.
And so what it turns out is that cigarettes absolutely have a hormetic dose response. And it turns out to be the optimal dose of poisonous cigarettes
that you can intake
is 2 or 3 a day.
a day. That seems like a lot a day. I would think maybe 2 a week.
This is out of the research.
Okay.
Kid you not. The research will show this. This is how they discover it. Now, no one wants to say this because cigarettes are bad and no one should smoke. And I want to say personally that I have yet to convince a single patient to smoke 2 cigarettes a day for
But
their
have
health.
you convinced people who are maybe smoking a pack a day to lessen their amount.
No, I haven't actually. What happens is if you're smoking any, then you're smoking too much. If you're smoking any, you want to smoke too much, and so I can't get rid of the desire. The only way I've been able to figure out how to do this in reality is to have them just quit altogether. In reality, that turns out to be the best thing you do. In theory, because there are people who smoke 1 or 2 or 3 cigarettes a day. Those people do exist. They're rare. They do exist. And what happens is they tend to be healthier for it. Isn't that weird?
That's very weird. Well, isn't that the oldest woman alive?
That's a great example. The lady, the person on the planet Earth who lived the longest, more than anybody ever, as far as we know, as far as records show us, lived to 122 years and 7 months. She was a smoker, which blows...
From France.
Yeah, from France.
Yeah.
Jean, I think is how they say her name. I'm not sure. Clement is the last name. I know that. My French is not that great. Anyways, she was a smoker, except when you look into it, she smoked 2 cigarettes a day. She was a 2 cigarette a day smoker, and she quit when she was 117 because she said, it's not good for me, I could tell. And so she quit at 117 and so lived a lot longer. At that point, would she live another 5 years, right? So, I don't think I'm trying to talk anybody into smoking 2 cigarettes a day because I'm not.
No.
Except for, boy, this sure is interesting. Now the question is how much poison is really good for us? So the take-home message is you don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
You have to be, actually, perfect is imperfect. Mm-hmm. You have to do exactly the right amount of poison, just not none, right? And not too much. Mm-hmm. So now the question is, how much bacon is the correct dose?
How many cinnamon rolls is the correct dose?
No one's done the research. They did it on cigarettes.
Yeah.
But no one, to my knowledge, has done the research on bacon.
Well, we have a friend who brings over enough treats that we could probably have a study here in the clinic. Dr. Luper, there is no time left for us in this conversation, but I hope that this gives our listeners and our viewers more of an idea of who we are and what we're hoping to accomplish.
With all these topics, and people, I imagine at some point somebody's going to want to know, who is this guy, right?
Yeah.
What's his background? Uh-huh. Well, so now you know. I've been in practice 30 years. It's a general practice. I'm basically, a general practice doctor. I treat basically everything that comes in the door. And I've been doing it, successfully for a while. I mean, honestly, it's and there's the main thing here is we have fabulous fun here, too. There's that,
Yeah.
so.
Wonderful.
Good. Haley, thanks.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Luper.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Sensible Health Solutions. We hope you found today's discussion enlightening and packed with practical tips to enhance your wellness journey. Remember, small changes can lead to big results. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us bring you the best content possible. Stay connected with us on social media for more health insights and updates. You can find us at Sensible Health Solutions across all social platforms. Until next time, stay sensible and stay healthy. This content is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Seek medical advice from a healthcare professional for any medical conditions.